I'm curious what you think about this.
Mm.
And to preface this, I say this, again, as someone who has like dealt with this stuff my entire life. I mean, like back when I lived in Columbus and I was hanging out with Cam and Ashi and Chase drinking 7 nights a week and I wanted to just die all the time. Like I get it. But I feel like mental illness is kind of glamorized and trendy now. What do you think about that?
Maybe I stay far away enough from it of like I can keep myself pretty out of tune with the scene and with things that are
probably
going
a good thing.
Yeah, I think in some ways it's just not good for my job. Like I should be more involved, but I think for some ways it's kind of important for me to do that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily like being glamorized. But I think, and I'm speaking from personal experience as somebody who's been like, I mean, I've had so many people, especially in the earlier days, being like, who is this dude? Just, you're using depression as a way to like make money, in short. And so I do realize kind of like the danger of it, and that I know for me, I can sleep at night knowing every word I said had no ulterior motive, was nothing other than me just trying to be honest, and what happened happened. And I've done that for every record, and I sleep really good at night. But I do know how business works, and I know how money works, and I know that there are a lot of other bands that have seen bands like a Linkin Park or like a whatever who talk about these really heavy emotional things, and see that it works. And so they do what works, and they try and write songs about that to make money. And I do think that's kind of like dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's just, as I have grown up, obviously when I was 19, it was way different. But like now that I'm 30 years old, I think that there's a difference between expressing your pain so that people understand that they're not alone. And then there's and then there's like glamorizing. And then there's like, and I use the word romanticizing, which I use in Riptide. I mean, I'm literally calling myself out. I say, this is the last time that I'll romanticize the Riptide that's trying to drown me.
The tortured artist kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that I could keep doing that, and it could be from an honest place. But I'm choosing not to anymore. And obviously there are still, I'm going to write stuff that's heavy. I'm going to write stuff that's sad, but like to your point of that, there may be artists who are doing this. I definitely think it happens.
And not just artists. I mean, just like random people on TikTok or something that sort of
construct like their whole, in general,
constructing their whole identity around the fact that they have some mental health issue, which again, I totally get it. I'm sympathetic, but for their sake, I would just say like, man,
that's just unhealthy. Like,
you don't want to live this way.
That's scary. It's like, I have been there like 100%, maybe not outwardly, like choosing to make my identity being mentally ill, but I've definitely been that person before, where every single interview, every single thing people ask me is like, you're really fucking sad and fucked up. I'm like, oh, well, maybe.
What's that like?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
well, it sucks.
Okay, well, let's look at this. Maybe if every single person is asking me, why are you like this? Maybe there's something that I am doing that is leading them to think this. And obviously, it takes growth and it takes time. But like you were saying, dude, so much of life is a choice. And like every word we say, we have control over that. Every energy that we put out into the world, we can control at the end of the day. And the difference between like glamorizing and romanticizing, and then just actually like going through it and looking for kind of like help or looking for a way to connect with other people, they can be two very different things. And I think it's scary shit. Like it's
hard to know what the difference is sometimes.
Yeah. When you're so deep in it, and when it is so comfortable and it's working, that's the scary part. Is it's like you're doing this and people are like, go ahead, keep living in that space. It's tough to get out of, fuck, I've definitely been there. Like having success, making really sad shit, and being the sad person and talking about the sad person. It's like I truly never was trying to be that person, but I do think subconsciously it kept me in that space. Um, I don't know. It's like, it just kind of is a vicious cycle.
Exactly. Like I remember, especially like the emo rap stuff was really, really, really intense with that. Like I think it was Lil Peep. I don't want to say for sure, but I think it was Lil Peep. There was one of those guys that would like post stories of like fans would bring him pills and he would just like take them, you know? And that's just like such a sad example of like, I think, again, I think it was Lil Peep, but he's obviously like making this stuff like as a cry for help in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then the fans want him to think that they're cool, and so they bring him drugs, and he's in such a like bad place that he's just like, fuck it, I don't care what happens to me, I'm going to take this.
Yeah.
And you just see that and I'm just like, dude, this is so, and this is not me being a boomer and yelling at them and saying I'm just like, dude, this is so sad and fucked up and toxic. This is not good,
Dude, I mean, yeah, like it does curate that cycle. Like that shit is just, it's such an odd, almost uncharted territory.
Right.
Like, obviously there's always been really sad artists, from painters way back in the day to now. Like tortured art is some of the biggest art always. But yeah, now just with kind of the state of the world and with the fact that the internet is what it is, and there's every little subculture that you want, you can kind of curate your own lane and like find anything you're looking for or get into anything so much deeper. And there's a lot more outside influence going on in the world, that I think that can lead to some kind of like maybe uninformed decisions,
right?
And things that people don't realize, like what is really going on. And yeah, like you were saying, like like emo rap, like from the outside people could think, okay, this is just like his vibe, is he's just kind of singing in this sad tone and talking about,
I wish it was
stuff.
that.
And yeah, and like that's his vibe, but like he's having a blast and he just loves pills and he loves to like get fucked up and it's like a party. So like they think that's cool and whatever, and it just kind of gets vicious. I
remember seeing him, he did this vlog where he was like going to the mall or whatever, and that was like one of the first things I saw from him. And I turned to my wife and I was like, dude, this kid's gonna die.
Yeah.
And he did like 6 months later. But if I was 16 years old, I wouldn't be able to see that. It's only because I was an adult who had seen this stuff, that I was able to see that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, dude, I mean, I think about, I don't know, like even like fucking party bands in the 80s and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's kind of similar where, at the time, all you're seeing is the glamorized version of this. You're not seeing the fucking gruesome hangover that they're dealing with every day. You're not
doing blow to get rid of the hangover,
the mental torture that they're in from being in this place. It just, that's the thing that's hard, is I think so many people just look at things at a surface level and don't really understand what's going on underneath. And yeah, dude, that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Art and like mental headspace and even just sense of self to me is like a massive part of all this stuff we're talking about.
Like if you think, like I remember thinking like, oh, I'm a fuck up. I'm always going to be a fuck up. I'm just like destined to be like a miserable, fuck up basically.
Straight up.
And so then then of course I acted like one, which made it a self-fulfilling prophecy and, so forth.
Exactly. Literally case in point, dude. Yeah. When you think that way, then you just don't fucking care. So like you said, you're going to be at the bar 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
Fucking doing whatever. Because honestly, in a way, that's you just saying, I give up. I'm just going to do whatever makes me momentarily happy
Yeah,
to get
in
through this
quotes,
life
yes.
because I am doomed and whatever, and I don't fucking care. I mean, I used to literally say out of my mouth, I'm probably gonna live till my, hopefully my 40s. Like,
Sure.
because I just didn't care. I hated myself so fucking much and thought I was so doomed, and manifested that for myself and lived in that and spoke that truth that it became real. And, I was just doing anything that made me momentarily happy. Um, and it was as somebody on the other side, I'm sure you can attest. It's like that was absolute fucking bullshit. That was
Yes.
fear. That was me just saying shit so I could like get away with it and not have to work hard and work on myself and look in the mirror and deal with the shit that I knew would give me a better life. Um, and yeah, it's so hard. It is almost impossible to see the other side of that coin when you're there. It's almost impossible. I mean, you look at, numbers of addiction, you look at whatever, like that legitimately is a very hard thing to realize that you have power. But it's so true. It's all you. At the end of the day, there's no, like, a lot of people have, like, they say like rock bottom. That's their thing
Yep.
that kind of like turns them around or whatever. But yeah, like it's until you choose for you. So much of this world is based around what can somebody else do to help you with this, or we're selling stuff that's going to keep you down in that place because we know that you're going to keep spending if you're down there and you need
Yep.
to find a way out, whether it be, pills or drinks or fucking whatever it could be. Yeah, dude, like self-love and self-care is a very difficult thing to grasp, and I completely understand it, and like absolutely no shade to anybody who's living in that space.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
We've all fucking been there, but as somebody who's been there and has now found a way to at least start to understand and deal with those problems head on, like step by step, it's worth it. Like, god damn, it's rad. Like I'm a big
Yeah.
fan personally. But yeah, it's fucking tough and it's scary.